सुनियों के दिल की बहार शाहे जिलानी, सुनियों के दिल की बहार शाहे जिलानी, सुनियों के दिल की बहार शाहे जिलानी, शाहे जिलानी, शाहे जिलानी, शाहे जिलानी।
فقد قال الله تبارك وتعالى في القرآن المجيد والفرقان الحميد. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. والله يختص برحمته من يشاء والله ذو الفضل العظيم. صدق الله مولانا العظيم وبلغنا رسوله النبي الكريم ونحن على ذلك من الشاهدين والشاكرين والحمد لله رب العالمين. الصلاة والسلام عليك يا سيدي يا رسول الله وعلى آلك وأصحابك يا حبيب الله. الصلاة والسلام عليك يا Sayyidi. Ladies and gentlemen, today I am going to give you the more details about Syed Abdul Qadir Jilani, Mahbub Subhani, Qutb Rabbani, Sher Yazdani, Sayyah ila Makani, radiyallahu ta'ala anhu. I think in the last lecture I gave you the information about the birth of Hazrat Syed Abdul Qadir Jilani rahmatullah alayh, and the beginning of his life, his childhood, his education, and his journey to Baghdad Sharif in the age of 18 years. And he was qualified there. And when Hazrat Syed Abdul Qadir Jilani rahmatullah alayh announced that the foot of Nabi Hazrat Ghous-e-Azam radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, which was visible on the pulpit of Baghdad Sharif, that was on the neck of the totality of Awliya Allah. Awliya Allah would be termed afterwards as pious, and Walayat as piety. Piety means Walayat. Pious means Wali. You can call Wali Allah, you can call pious persons, and you can call Walayat, and you can call piety. Hazrat Ghous-e-Azam radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, when he was a student at the University of Jamia Nizamiya Baghdad. Jamia means university. That was the first university in Islamic history which was established by Umar Khayyam. Umar Khayyam and Nizamul Mulk were class fellows. At the time of their studentship, they promised with each other that if any one of them was promoted to some dignity, he would support the other companion. And that was a very solemn promise between them. When Nizamul Mulk was promoted as Prime Minister of the Caliphate of Abbasids, so he happened to meet Umar Khayyam in the way. Umar Khayyam made him remember about the promise they made between each other at the time of their studentship. He recollected the promise. He said, "What can I do for you? Can I help you?" He said, "You are competent and completely in position to support me in my intention." Since Umar Khayyam was a very holy person, he was not selfish. He did not demand anything for himself. He said, your duty to spend the money to provide with the sources, and my duty is to build up a university which would remain forever for the education of the Muslims. That university was established after the name of Nizamul Mulk. This is why this is called Jamia Nizamiya Baghdad. Jamia means university. Nizamiya means under the supervision of or under the patronage of Nizamul Mulk. Hazrat Ghous-e-Azam radiyallahu anhu was student at that university, and there were 3 students, Ibn Saqqa, Abu Saeed, and Hazrat Ghous-e-Azam radiyallahu ta'ala anhu. On the persuasion of Hazrat Syed Abdul Qadir Jilani rahmatullah ta'ala, they decided that they should go somewhere to see or visit the holy persons, because the company of holy persons is better than the other liturgical activities. The liturgical activities can be made nowadays, but one cannot be companion of the Holy Prophet. And when one cannot be companion of the Holy Prophet, it means that he cannot be equalized with the companion. And what was the quality of companion of the Holy Prophet? They were just in position to sit with Nabi Kareem alayhi salam. So it means that the best liturgical activity is to sit with the pious people. Therefore they decided to go somewhere to visit the holy persons. In those days there was a very highly spiritual person and a highly placed person, Ghous-e-Baghdad. Sometimes he would appear, sometimes he would disappear. It was a matter of chance. They decided to meet with him. And they went there. During the journey, Ibn Saqqa said, I shall put the questions which would not be solved by Ghous-e-Baghdad. Ghous-e-Baghdad would not be in position to solve my questions. He would not be able to answer my questions. My questions are too hard to be answered by such a Sufi person. And Abu Saeed said, I shall also make the questions, but I shall wait for his ability, but I will not test. I would not be able to test the ability and capability of Hazrat Ghous-e-Baghdad. But he was not Ghaus-e-Pak Pirani Pir Dastagir Mahbub Subhani, but he was another pious person who would be named as Ghous-e-Baghdad. And Sarkar Baghdad radiyallahu ta'ala anhu was asked about his intention. He said, we are going to meet with a pious person. It is not appropriate for us to test his ability. I would not make any question. I shall ask him just to pray for me. So when they met with him at the residence of that Ghous-e-Baghdad, Ghous-e-Baghdad without any hesitation began to say that, oh Ibn Saqqa, you wanted to test my ability, my capability, my intelligence, and the length of my knowledge by means of many questions, and you were thinking that I would not be able to answer your questions, but you should bear in mind that your question was such and such, and the answer of those questions are such and such. And I shall give you the information about the end of your life. You would be apostatized. You would apostatize when you would become murtad and would die in the position of infidelity. Means your end would be very dangerous. And he said to Abu Saeed, oh Abu Saeed, even if you did not want to test my ability, but at least you dared to say that I shall put the questions. So I shall pray for you. You will get the wealth of the world, and it would be very, very difficult for you to save your belief. But I shall pray for you to be Muslim at the time of death. But when he paid attention to Syed Abdul Qadir Jilani, Rahmatullah Ta'ala, he said, it was written in Fatawa Hadithiyya by Imam Ibn Hajar Makki, who passed away in 974 or 76 or 77 or 78. These are 3 or 4 record made by the Muslim scholars. He writes in Fatawa Hadithiyah, page number 315. This subject starts from this page and ends on the 616. He says that this person who is sitting in front of me is Syed Abdul Qadir Jilani. The time will come when he would be able to say that this foot is on the neck of all of awliya Allah. It was predicted by Hazrat Ghous-e-Baghdad. Hazrat Ghous did not say anything. He said he is a very respectable person and he is a very respectful person as well. And he is from the lineage of Nabi Kareem ﷺ. And he would be promoted spiritually at that stage that he would announce that this foot of mine is on the neck of totality of awliya Allah. And the piety of that person would be saved who would bow down in front of his foot. And the person who would refuse to bow down in front of Syed Abdul Qadir Jilani, his piety would be cancelled forever. And he would not be able to be called a Waliullah. The piety would depend on the foot of Hazrat Ghous-e-Azam radiyallahu ta'ala anhu. So it was predicted at the time of studentship of Hazrat Syed Abdul Qadir Jilani. This is a contradiction and a refutation for the people who say that Hazrat Ghous-e-Azam radiyallahu ta'ala anhu stated like that in the position of ecstasy, Wijdan, Halat-e-Istighraq. This is called means absorption, spiritually absorption. Spiritual absorption is called ecstasy, in the position of ecstasy. But Hazrat Ghous-e-Azam radiyallahu ta'ala said this sentence, but after that years and years he lived in this world. If it had been said by him in the ecstasy, he would have revised it and make it clear that it was not in the normal position, but it was in the case of ecstasy. But Syed Abdul Qadir Jilani rahmatullah alayh did not revise the sentence. And if it was in the case of ecstasy, all of the other awliya Allah who bowed down their necks in front of Syed Abdul Qadir Jilani would have not bowed down in front of the foot of Hazrat Ghous-e-Azam. So it means that this is not a matter of confusion. It was quite clear that Hazrat Ghous-e-Azam was in normal position and is awakeness in normal position of sense when he made this quotation. But Hazrat Ghous-e-Azam radiyallahu anhu was reported by the other awliya Allah. There was a person who would see Nabi Kareem ﷺ daily, sometimes in the wakeness, sometimes in the dream. He said, Hazrat Ghous-e-Azam radiyallahu ta'ala said this one according to the order of adjudicator of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Means the totality of judiciary of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala decided this case, and he was enjoined and obliged by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to announce like that. He did not announce it by himself, but it was announced by the order of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Narae Takbir, Narae Risalat, Narae Haidri, Narae Ghousiya, Janab Qibla Shahzada Ghous-e-Azam.
And when a quotation is made by a person, so we shall wait for the responsive attitude by the other people. The totality of contemporary Muslim pious awliya Allah, they answered positively. It means that it was not announced in the case of ecstasy. This was in normal position according to the order of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is why all of awliya Allah without any hesitation bowed down their neck in front of the foot of Hazrat Ghous-e-Azam radiyallahu ta'ala. When Hazrat Ghous-e-Azam radiyallahu ta'ala was sitting in Baghdad Sharif on the pulpit of his mosque, he said, Kadami hazihi ala rakabate kulli waliyillah. So this is my foot This foot of mine is on the neck of the totality of awliya Allah.
Subhanallah, Subhanallah.
Wa kullu waliyyin lahu qadamun wa inni ala qadamin nabi badr al-kamali.
Subhanallah, Subhanallah.
Nabi Kareem Alayhi Salam said, every one is on the typical example of the prophets. All of the prophets who have passed, they have got their example in my ummah. There are many persons on the model of the prophets. The prophets who have passed, they have got their examples in my ummah. Just like Nabi Kareem Alayhi Salam said, Hazrat Abu Siddiq radiyallahu ta'ala is example of Hazrat Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam. He said, Ali is my example. Ali is my example. Hazrat Abu Siddiq radiyallahu ta'ala is example of Hazrat Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam. Similarly, Hazrat Ghous-e-Azam radiyallahu ta'ala said, the total awliya Allah, the total pious people in Ummah of Muhammadiyah, they are on the model of the prophets who have passed. And I am on the model of Nabi Kareem Alayhi Salatu Wasalam. As Nabi Kareem Alayhi Salatu Wasalam was certified by all of the prophets, إِذْ أَخَذَ اللَّهُ مِيثَاقَ النَّبِيِّينَ لَمَا آتَيْتُكُم مِّن كِتَابٍ وَحِكْمَةٍ ثُمَّ جَاءَكُمْ رَسُولٌ مُصَدِّقٌ لِّمَا مَعَكُمْ لَتُؤْمِنُنَّ بِهِ وَلَتَنصُرُنَّهُ. O my prophets, when I give you the book and wisdom and revelation, and you would be promoted as a prophet, and then this prophet would come, and your duty would be to believe in him as a prophet of yours, and you will have to bow down in front of him. As Nabi Kareem Alayhi Salatu was certified and approved by all of the prophets, similarly, وَكُلُّ وَلِيٍّ لَهُ قَدَمٌ وَإِنِّي عَلَىٰ قَدَمِ النَّبِي بَدْرِ الْكَمَالِ. So, the stanza of the Ghous-e-Azam radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, this stanza of Hazrat Ghaus-e Pak can be explained in the light of this verse. As Nabi Kareem Alayhi Salatu was approved by all of the prophets, and he was certified as a supreme and chief prophet of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala among the prophetic community. Similarly, Hazrat Ghous-e-Azam was approved and promoted and certified by all of the other awliya Allah as a chief of awliya Allah.
Subhanallah.
He was chief of awliya Allah. There was a question whether companion of the Holy Prophet were also under this liability. No. Terminologically, the word of wali is not used for the companions, for Aimma Ahl Bayt. It means that Aimma Ahl Bayt and companion of the prophets are exempted from this liability. The foot of Hazrat Ghous-e-Azam is on the neck of awliya Allah, not on the companion of the Holy Prophet or Aimma Ahl Bayt. In Islamic terminology, the word of wali is not applied on Aimma Ahl Bayt or on companion of the Prophet. All of the awliya Allah which are termed as wali Allah, they are under the foot of Hazrat Ghous-e-Azam. They might have passed, they might come afterwards. In both of the cases, they are under the control of Hazrat Ghous-e-Azam radiyallahu ta'ala. No, we shall check it by the evidence which are approving the quotation of Hazrat Ghous-e-Azam radiyallahu ta'ala. When a court case is proceeded with, so the evidence are in position to approve or disapprove. The case can be accepted or rejected in the light of the evidence. We shall check the evidence provided by the Muslim scholars at that time. When Hazrat Ghous-e-Azam announced that Qadami hazihi ala rakbati kulli waliyillah, at that time Hazrat Abul Hasan Ali Hayati was present in the meeting of Hazrat Ghous-e-Azam in that very mosque. He bowed down in front of Hazrat Ghous-e-Azam, but Hazrat Ghous-e-Azam said, Pisre Ghayasuddin Bartu Sabqadr Budast. Hazrat Ghous-e-Azam said that Khaja Gharib Nawaz Sultan in Sarkar, he has got the first position in bowing down his neck. He was sitting in the mountains of Khurasan, and his Sabki students who were under the patronage of Hazrat Syed Muinuddin Chishti Ajmeri. They saw Hazrat Muinuddin Chishti Ajmeri that he bowed down up to the touching of the earth. He said, Allah Rasibal Ain, O Ghous-e Azam, put your foot on my eyes and I on my head. And this was the first attempt in which he succeeded. As the Ghous-e Azam says, Pisre Ghiyasuddin bar sabka drabudast. Means Hazrat Khwaja Gharib Nawaz has taken the first attempt. He is the first person to bow down in front of me.
Naraye Takbir, Naraye Risalat, Naraye Haidari, Naraye Ghous-e-Azam, Shane Awliya Ikram, Janab Qibla Shahzada Ghous-e-Azam.
Khwaja Gharib Nawaz, Sultan Hind Sarkar, he is Najib Tarafain, Sayyid, from both sides. His mother was also Sayyida, his father was also Sayyid. His father's name was Ghiyasuddin, his mother's name was Hazrat Sayyida Fatima. The mother of Syed Abdul Qadir Jilani was also Fatima. The mother of Hassan Hussain was also Fatima. The mother of Hazrat Haidar Karar was also Fatima. The grandmother of Nabi Karim was also Fatima. And the mother of Khwaja Pir Mir Ali Shah Sahab Rahmatullah Alayhi was also Fatima. And the mother of Sayyid Pir Jamaat Ali Shah Sahab Mujaddid Ali Puri was also Fatima. The mother of my father Sayyid Pir Vilayat Ali Shah, his mother was also Fatima. My mother's name was Jane Fatima.
Naraye Takbir, Naraye Risalat, Naraye Haidari, Naraye Ghous-e-Azam, Shane Ahle-Bayt Kiram, Janab Qibla Shahzada Ghous-e-Azam.
And the name of mother of Data Ganj Bakhshi Ali Ajmeri was also Fatima. Hazrat Ghous-e Azam radiyallahu ta'ala anhu announced about the foot, and Hazrat Khwaja Gharib Nawaz Sultan Hind Sarkar was the first person to bow down. Now all of his companions, all of his students who was in his patronage, they noted down the time, the day, the date, just to investigate, interrogate the accuracy of this announcement. He was sitting in Persia, the mountain of Khurasan. He listened the sound of announcement of Hazrat Ghous-e Azam from mountains of Khurasan, and he bowed down and he approached to Hazrat Ghous-e Azam. Hazrat Ghous-e Azam radiyallahu ta'ala anhu put his foot for the first time on the neck of Hazrat Khwaja Gharib Nawaz Sultan Hind Sarkar, and it was certified by Hazrat Khwaja Gharib Nawaz at many times. He says, चू पाए नबी शुद्ध ताजे सरत ताजे हम आलम शुद्ध कदबत अकताब जहाँ दर पेश दरत उफताद जो पेशे शाह गदा. O Hazrat Ghous-e Azam, when Nabi Karim Sahab put his feet on your neck or your head, your foot went to the neck and heads of totality of Awliya Allah. Means on account of foot of Nabi Karim Sahab, you got the dignity, you are dignified that all of Awliya Allah were duty bound to bow down in front of you. And Hazrat Khwaja Gharib Nawaz says, Muhi ke fidaye naame tu shud, dar use agare ikram tu shud, shud Khwaja Azam ke ghulam tu shud, darat talabe taslim raza. Oh Hazrat Syed Abdul Qadir Jilani Rahmatullah Ta'ala alayh, this Muinuddin Chishti Ajmeri, who is just a beggar of your residence, Muhi ke fidaye naame tu shud, and I shall sacrifice my personality on your name. Muhi ke fidaye naame tu shud, dar use agare ikram tu shud, and I am a beggar of your generosity. You are a generous person. You have dignified me by means of your foot, and now I shall expect you to become generous as usual to me. This was a quotation of Khwaja Gharib Nawaz Sultan Hind Sarkar. And after some times, they tried to visit Hazrat Syed Abdul Qadir Jilani Rahmatullah. At the same time, Abu Madian Maghribi, who was the chief Waliullah of Africa, the total Africa, and their pious persons were disciple of Abu Madian Maghribi. He said, Ala Rasi wal Ain, O Hazrat Ghous Sakalain, your announce was accepted very promptly, and I am happily bowing down my head in front of you. Then Ghous Sakalain put his foot on the neck of Abu Madian Maghribi, and Sheikh Abdul Rahim Kanavi Rahmatullah, Egyptian Sufi, he bowed down his neck in front of Hazrat Ghous Sakalain radiyallahu ta'ala from Egypt, and they noted the time, the day, the details, the announcement, and they also determined to visit Hazrat Syed Abdul Qadir Jilani Rahmatullah alayh. And at the same time, Sheikh Shahabuddin Surwardi, who was one of the founder of a lineage of tariqah, Chishti, Qadri, Naqshbandi, Surwardi, Imam Surwardi, Sheikh Shahabuddin Surwardi, his first name is Abu Najib Sheikh Shahabuddin Surwardi. He was already very impressed by Hazrat Ghous Sakalain radiyallahu anhu. Afterwards, I shall give you the detail of Sheikh Shahabuddin Surwardi. He also said, Ala Rasi wal Ain, O Hazrat Ghous Sakalain, put your foot on my head and on my eyes. And his students who were present there, they noted down the time, the day, and the detail of announcement. And at the same times, many other awliya Allah, they also accepted the announcement of Hazrat Syed Abdul Qadir Jilani Rahmatullah alayh, and they hurriedly came to Hazrat Syed Abdul Qadir Jilani. But by means of miracle of Syed Abdul Qadir Jilani, all of the travelers came there at the same time. Simultaneously, they met with Hazrat Syed Abdul Qadir Jilani Rahmatullah ta'ala alayh, and they approved the time, and they accepted the announcement of Syed Abdul Qadir Jilani Rahmatullah alayh, which means that it was not by chance, but it was pre-planned program made by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and according to the decision of adjudicator of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Hazrat Ghous Sakalain radiyallahu anhu announced like that. So in this connection, we shall see all of the tariqah, Qadri, Chishti, Naqshbandi, Surwardi. Many other people announced like that, but that was not accepted by the contemporary Muslim pious people or the other scholars. But the announcement of Syed Abdul Qadir Jilani Rahmatullah alayh was accepted by the muhaddiseen, by the scholars, by the commentators of the Holy Quran, and by the awliya Allah of Naqshbandiya and Qadriya and Chishtiya. So one by one I shall give you the details. For instance, firstly I gave you the information about Sayyid Muinuddin Chishti Ajmeri Rahmatullah alayh. It was quite clearly accepted by Hazrat Sayyid Muinuddin Chishti Ajmeri, Khaja Garib Nawaz Sultan Hind Sarkar. And at the same time, Hazrat Khaja Abu Najib Surwardi Rahmatullah ta'ala alayh, he wrote in his book that at the time of announcement of Syed Abdul Qadir Jilani Rahmatullah alayh, I was sitting in my khanqa, in my zawiya, when I listened to the announcement of Hazrat Syed Abdul Qadir Jilani Rahmatullah alayh, I hurriedly accepted the announcement of Hazrat Ghous Sakalain. I tried my best to be first, to bow down in front of Hazrat Ghous Sakalain, but unfortunately I was delayed. Hazrat Khaja Garib Nawaz has taken the first stamp. The first stamp was made by Hazrat Ghous Sakalain in connection with Khaja Garib Nawaz Sultan Hind Sarkar, and it is on record. And the background of Khaja Sheikh Shahabuddin Surwardi is, he was a best scholar of dialectical theology, ilm kalam, ilm aqidah. Ilm aqidah is called dialectical theology. Means when the beliefs of the Muslims are approved and substantiated by means in the light of logic, the combination of belief and logic, when everything is approved and substantiated by the arguments of logic, when the logic is used for the belief, that the collection is called dialectical theology. This was started in the third century of Islamic calendar. So he was a master of this subject, and he was always absorbed in this very subject, and he was not believing in any waliullah, in any scholar, because he was the good apologetic. Apologetic means munazir. Apologetic means munazir, debater. Debater is a very shallow word, but the proper word is apologetic. He was the best apologetic. Therefore, he was not believing in any scholar or Muslim pious. He would say that these people are just bogus. They have got no knowledge about the reality, and I am quite at home in the reality. Therefore, all of the people should learn from me, and I should not go anywhere to learn from anything. His first peer with whom he had performed the bath was Shaykh Ahmad Rahmatullah alayh, who was his real uncle and father-in-law as well. So he asked him to go to Hazrat Syed Abdul Qadir Jilani Rahmatullah alayh for debate. He said, Syed Abdul Qadir Jilani radiyallahu ta'ala is not in position to afford my first hit. I can conquer him, I can defeat him in the first attempt. He is not in a position to answer my questions. He said, you should try. He said, as you are a bogus person, the Syed Abdul Qadir Jilani Rahmatullah alayh would also be a bogus person. Therefore, I am not ready to go there. He said that, are you believing in my uncleship? Do you believe that I am your uncle? He said, this is just common thing. He said, do you believe that you are my son-in-law? He said, I believe it. This is a power of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah knows better that a person who is not believing in Allah, he is believing in wife. He said, I believe that you are my father-in-law, and I believe in this relationship. He said, if you are believing in this connection, I should request you to go Syed Abdul Qadir Jilani. Firstly, you should prepare yourself for the debate, and I shall take you there. 2 or 3 months he spent in this preparation, and he prepared the debate with Hazrat Syed Abdul Qadir Jilani Rahmatullah alayh. And he loaded his donkey, his mule, his other load-carrying animals, and he took with him to meet with Syed Abdul Qadir Jilani Rahmatullah ta'ala. When they went there, Hazrat Ghous-e-Azam radiyallahu anhu was sitting inside of the mosque, and these persons were to stand on at the door of mosque. Syed Abdul Qadir Jilani Rahmatullah sent a person to take him inside. He called them in. They went there. Hazrat Ghous-e-Azam radiyallahu ta'ala focused on his face and said, what is your name? I forgot my name. You have been preparing for debate with me for many months. I did not do so. So this is totally wrong. I did not prepare myself for the debate with you. Hazrat Ghous-e-Azam said, you are the person who have loaded the donkey, the mule, the horse, the other load carrying animals. So you are telling a lie. He said, I am in the right. I did not prepare myself for the debate with you. Hazrat Ghous-e-Azam said, what is your father's name? Because when I forgot my own name, how can I tell my father's name? Then the uncle of Shaykh Shabdir Sarwardi requested Hazrat Ghous-e-Azam to be kind to him, to be kind enough to promote him as a good person, and should remove and delete all of the bad sciences, bad knowledge from his heart. Then Hazrat Ghous-e-Azam radiyallahu ta'ala pat him on the back, and all of the good sciences came in his heart, and all of the bad sciences were removed and deleted from the heart of Shaykh Shah Abdul Sarwardi. This was Shaykh Shah Abdul Sarwardi.
नाराए तकबीर, नाराए रिसालत, नाराए हैदरी, नाराए गौसिया, जनाब किबला शहजादा गौस-e-Azam.
So these two evidences were adduced in the court by Khwaja Garib Nawaz Sultan Hind Sarkar and by Shaykh Shah Abdul Sarwardi. These two lineage approved the announcement of Hazrat Ghous-e-Azam radiyallahu ta'ala. And Hazrat Abu Madian Mughrabi were belonging to some other school of thought, but he also approved. And Abdul Rahim Kanavi Rahmatullah alayh, who was Egyptian Sufi, he also approved the announcement of Syed Abdul Qadir Jilani Rahmatullah alayh. And come down, Hazrat Mullah Nuruddin Abdul Rahman Jami, who was very pious person, and Fazul Bari Sharah Bukhari, volume number 1 and page number 61. Anwar Shah Lulabi, who was the best scholar of history of Deoband. In the history of Deoband, such a capable person was not born, was not provided by Deobandi people. He was the best scholar of ilm hadith, and all of the other Islamic normative sciences were on the tip of his finger. And his memory was so strong that if he had listened anything 15 years ago, after 15 years he was in a position to revise it as if he has learned it just now. His memory was very strong. He writes in his book Fazul Bari Sharah Bukhari, volume number 1 and page number 61st. He says that Mullah Nuruddin Abdul Rahman Jami was in position that once upon a time a person made his feast. He invited him to the dinner. Hazrat Mullah Nuruddin Abdul Rahman Jami went there. But it was a commonly known by the society that if any unlawful thing or invalid thing or haram thing is prepared for the feast of Nuruddin Abdul Rahman Jami, so he recognizes before the time and he does not touch that one. But that person intentionally he killed a hen, a chicken, and prepared and cooked properly, very nicely and very properly cooked. But when Jami Rahmatullah went there, at the first glance he said, this chicken is haram. He said, how did you find it out? He said, I shall tell you. He said, Kumi Bezinillah, O hen, stand up with the permission of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There is a misunderstanding about Jami Rahmatullah alayh. Just like people mostly say that Mian Muhammad Sahib Rahmatullah was a shair. No, he was not a shair. He was an arif. His many miracles are on the record and are alive nowadays as well. Hazrat Mian Sahib Rahmatullah alayh was not a shair, but he was a scholar as well, an arif as well, Waliullah as well. Many quality he had. So Hazrat Nuruddin Abdul Rahman Jami, when he said, Kubi Beznillah, or chicken, stand up by the permission of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. All of the bones composed with each other and all of the body was properly arranged and it stood up on the feet. Then that person was really taken aback. He said that such a person was not experienced in my life. This is the first person who can revive the dead bodies. Mullah Nuruddin Abdul Rahman Jami. He has qualities which are abnormal in every respect. For instance, he would come to the shrine of Nabi Kareem ﷺ and he would say, As-salatu was-salamu alayka ya rahmatan lil alameen. And there was an answer from the shrine of Nabi Kareem ﷺ, Wa alaykum as-salam ya siraja ummati bakhair amadi wa madrat che guna bud. Nabi Kareem ﷺ would answer him in the Persian language because the maternal language of Hazrat Jami Rahmatullah was Persian. So there was answer by Nabi Kareem was also in Persian. Quran says, Ma arsalna min rasulin illa bilisani qawmihi liyubayyin lahum. I did not send any prophet but with the language of those people to whom he was sent down. The language of community should be known by the prophet because he is to make them understand. Without the information of, without the full knowledge of the language, one cannot communicate his message. Therefore, it is necessary for the prophet to be able to understand the language of those people to whom he is advented. So Hazrat Nabi Kareem would answer the question of the answer to the salam of Hazrat Mullah Nuruddin Abdul Rahman Jami. He would say, Wa alaykum as-salam ya siraja ummati, O candle of my ummah. Wa alaykum as-salam. The solemnity of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala be with you. And then, Bakhair Amdi, did you come here with safety and soundness? Wa madrat chegu nabud. And your mother, how was your mother? At the time of saying Assalamu alaikum ya Rasulullah, at the time of departure, he would say As-salatu was-salamu alayka ya rahmatul lil alamin. Nabi Kareem Rasul would answer from the shrine, Wa alaykum as-salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu ya siraja ummati salamat raviyo bazai. O Jami, you are the lamp of my community, Muslim community. I shall pray for you. May you go with solemnity and safety and soundness and bazai, and you should come back with safety and sound. Safe and sound. But for the last time, Nabi Kareem Rasul did not answer. Nabi Kareem Rasul answered from the shrine, Salamat Ravi, but did not say Bazai. May you come back. Then Jami Rahmatullah lost his senses and fell down. He collapsed on the ground. He understood that this is my last and final visit of the shrine of the Holy Prophet. So he was in such spiritual dignity. Hazrat Jami Rahmatullah Ta'ala. He says, Zinate tujhe goyam ya Ghous Sakalena Mehboob Khuda Ibn Hasana Ale Husaina. Oh Hazrat Ghous Sakalain, what can I say from the dignity and eulogy of, not means eulogy of yourself. You are the blood of Nabi Kareem Al-Aslam, and you are blood of Hazrat Ali Murtaza, and your grandfather is Imam Hassan, and maternal grandfather is Hazrat Imam Hussain. In every respect you are highly placed and highly admirable, and I cannot admire you. Your eulogy is not possible for me. I can appreciate your dignity, but I cannot completely satisfy the conditions of your eulogy. Your eulogy is out of my power. Sardar qadamat jumla ne adand wa guftand tallahi laqad asaraka Allahu alayna. O Ghous Sakalain radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, the totality of awliya Allah have put their head in your feet, and as this is a talmi, simile. Talmi can be called simile in English. As the brothers of Joseph, may grace and peace of Allah be upon him, put their head, they prostrated in front of Hazrat Yusuf, Hazrat Joseph, may grace and peace of Allah be upon him. They were equally brother, concerning with the same mothers and same father. But when Wallahu yakhtassu bi rahmatihi man yasha, it is Allah's right to choose anyone over the others. No one can object. Just like one is a very tall person, the other one is undersized. So undersized person cannot file a case against the tall person. So it is the sin of Allah. Just like a dwarf cannot file the case against a tall person, similarly the person with the low dignity cannot file a case against the highly dignified person. The dignity is bounty of Allah. He can grant to anyone He likes. He says that just like brothers of Joseph were duty bound to prostrate in front of Hazrat Joseph, similarly all of awliya Allah were duty bound to bow down their neck in front of you. So he was Naqshbandi. Mullah Nuruddin Abdul Rahman Jami was Naqshbandi and disciple of Khwaja Ubaidullah Ahrar. When Hazrat Mullah Nuruddin Abdul Rahman Jami went to perform Bayat with Ubaidullah Ahrar, he was sitting in his sitting room and many people were around him. He was overcrowded by the people. But all of the articles found inside of the sitting room were highly valuable, very expensive. So he said that this is luxurious person. Namardastan ke duniya dost darad. He began to say, Namardastan ke duniya dost darad. He is not a man of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala who takes so much interest in the worldly articles, decoration pieces, very expensive, mostly made of gold. Golden things were lying here and there. All of the tassels, found there. The fringes, the tassels, the lace, these are the word for the chalar. Tassels, laces, the many other persons, the fringes which are on the face of a horse, that type of pundna is called fringes. And the tassels which are put on the sleeve, they are called flappers. And the tassels which are put on the edge of a scarf, they are called laces. And the laces which are with big bodies, they are called tassels. Tassel, tassel. There were the tassels of gold. Hazrat Jami Rahmatullah began to criticize the behavior, the methodology of life of Hazrat Khwaja Ubaidullah Ahrar. He came back home. When he slept, he saw that there was Yawm Qiyamat, the day of resurrection, the day of accountability. Hazrat Jami Rahmatullah he was to owe the money to a person. The person who was debtor, he came there. He said, "Oh Jami, return my money to me." He said, "I have got no money." Then the person who was demanding the money, he said, "If you are not going to pay the money, you should go in the hell on behalf of me, because you are to owe the money to me. You are to pay the money to me. Since you are unable to pay the money, in replacement of that debts, you will have to go in the hell." Then Hazrat Jami Rahmatullah was really very disturbed and very perturbed. All of a sudden, Khwaja Ubaidullah Ahrar Rahmatullah came there. He said, "Oh Jami, how much money is to be paid?" He said, "Only 10 pounds. Hazrat Khwaja Ubaidullah Ahrar took out the 10 pound from his pocket and he paid on behalf of Jami Rahmatullah and gave him a push and said, "Come." He pulled him towards him, that now your account is clear now. You are not questionable now. You are not accountable now. Now you are free. So with one push, Jami Rahmatullah woke up. He saw Khwaja Ubaidullah Ahrar Rahmatullah standing beside him in his home. Khwaja Ubaidullah Ahrar said, "Oh Jami, when you came out of my room, what did you say at that time?" He said that, "I forgot everything." Because that was half of a stanza. Do you remember? What did you say? He said, I forgot all of the things. He said, you said, Na mardastan ke duniya dost darad. That is not a person of Allah, a man of Allah who takes so much interest in the worldly luxury. Are you in position to compose a complete sentence, a complete stanza? He said, when I have forgot the half of the stanza, how can I prepare the full stanza? He said, you should say like that, Na mardastan ke duniya dost darad. Agar darad baraye dost darad. That is not a man of Allah who takes so much interest in worldly wealth, but if he takes the interest, he should take interest for the purpose of his friend. Just like I pay on behalf of you. I paid the money on behalf of you. Hazrat Jami Rahmatullah was disciple of that person, and he was in Naqshbandi. And he says, Sardar qadamad jumlani hadan dub guftand tallahi laqad asaraka Allahu alayna. The totality of awliya Allah have put their head in front of your feet, as the brothers of Joseph put their heads in front of Hazrat Joseph, may grace and peace of Allah upon him. And similarly, Qadri Mian Sahib Arfe Khadi Rahmatullah Ta'ala, he says, Ghous-e Kutba de sir meera पैर मुबारक तरिया जो दरबार ओना दे आया खाली पांडा परिया जो दरबार ओना दे आया खाली पांडा परिया. Mian Sahib Arfe Khadi Rahmatullah says that Hazrat Ghous-e-Azam radiyallahu anhu put his foot on the head and necks of awliya Allah. Ghaus and Qutb were promoted as a Ghaus and Qutb by means of hit of foot of Hazrat Ghous-e-Azam radiyallahu anhu. At that time there was a wali Allah in Asfahan whose name was Sheikh Sanan. He refused. He said that I am not ready to bow down in front of Hazrat Ghous-e-Azam. At the same then and there, his piety was cancelled and he was expelled from the Muslim society. Some people say that certain awliya Allah interceded him with Hazrat Ghous-e-Azam and requested Hazrat Ghous-e-Azam to forgive him, and Hazrat Ghous-e-Azam forgave him and he was restored on his previous rank, but on account of bowing down in front of Hazrat Ghous-e-Azam. And some of the people are with the view that he was not in position to be restored as awliya Allah, as wali Allah, but he died as non-Muslim. These are the details about the foot of Hazrat Ghous-e-Azam. And more than everything, Hazrat Imam Rabbani Mujaddid al-Afsani Shaykh Ahmad Sarandi, who is head of Naqshbandiya in total India and Pakistan, and in Samarkand and Bukhara. The Naqshbandi Silsila came from Samarkand to Bukhara, and the first person who introduced the Naqshbandi system in Hindustan, in India, was Hazrat Shah Baqi Billah Rahmatullah Alayh, who was Murshid of Imam Rabbani Mujaddid al-Afsani Shaykh Ahmad Sarandi. Shaykh Ahmad Sarandi Rahmatullah Alayh was Chishti. Firstly, he performed his bath with his father, who was Chishti. His first bath was in Chishtiya. After that, he renewed his bath with Naqshbandiya, with Shah Baqi Billah Rahmatullah Alayh. He wrote a book with the name of Maktubat, volume number 2, volume number 2, and page number 144. He writes down that there are two ways to meet with Allah. One is by means of intervention, and the other one without any intervention. No one intervenes between Allah and a person. The meeting with Allah without any virtue, without any intervention, is the way of Anbiya alayhi salatu wasalam. Anbiya can meet with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala without intervention. No one intervenes between Nabi and Allah. He gets the prophethood directly from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Allah Rahmatullah ta'ala has contradicted this one. He says, La wa rabbil arsh jisko jo mila ulse mila बटती है कौनैन में नेमत रसूलुल्लाह की बटती है कौनैन में नेमत रसूलुल्लाह की. Nothing can be obtained from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala without intervention of Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And this assertion can be approved, can be certified by one of the express tradition of the Holy Prophet inserted in Bukhari Sharif. Wallahu yu'ti wa innama ana qasimun. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives the things, but I am to distribute everything to everyone. Nothing can be achieved directly from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala until the chattering of the birds, the chirping of the birds cannot be obtained by the birds but by virtue of Nabi Kareem ﷺ. And blooming of the buds of the flowers cannot bloom without the intervention of Nabi Kareem ﷺ. And all of the prophethood and piety were granted by means of Nabi Kareem ﷺ. And the fund of piety was granted to Hazrat Ali radiallahu anhu, and from Hazrat Ali radiallahu anhu to Aimma Ahl Bayt, and from Aimma Ahl Bayt to Hazrat Ghous-e-Azam. And he would be on the same status on the up to the judgment day, with the exception of Isa alayhi salatu wasalam, and exception of Imam Mahdi Akhir Zaman. Here Imam Rabbani Mijaz Rafsani Shaykh Hamd Ranti, Maktubat Jild Doim, and page number 144, he says that there are two ways to meet with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. One is without intervention of any person. That is way of Anbiya alayhi salatu wasalam, which I gave you about which I gave you the details. And the other one is the way of Awliya Allah. And he says that in the previous ummah, I checked by means of theosophy. Kashf is called theosophy. This is a special word. Theosophy means to meditate upon Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to take the information. Meditation muraqabah. By means of meditation to receive the information. That methodology is called theosophy. By means of theosophy, I checked the universe, and from Adam up to Hazrat Ali Sher Khuda radiyallahu anhu, no one was promoted as a Waliullah but by intervention of Hazrat Sayyidina Ali radiyallahu ta'ala anhu. Mili na daulat irfan bajuz nigahe Ali. Mili na daulat irfan bajuz nigahe Ali. Amin raz nabuwat bargah Ali. Means piety cannot be obtained but by virtue of Hazrat Sayyidina Ali radiyallahu ta'ala anhu. Hazrat Imam Rabbani Mijaz Rafsani Shaykh Hamd says that I believe that before the birth of Hazrat Ali radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, Ali was in position to distribute the piety among the previous ummahs. No wali in previous ummah could be promoted, could be granted the piety, but by virtue of Sayyidina Ali radiyallahu ta'ala. He was in a position to distribute the piety. The totality of piety was granted and was distributed by Hazrat Ali Sher Khuda radiyallahu anhu. It means that wali is in position to support before the birth as well. This quotation was made by Imam Rabbani Mijaz Rafsani Shaykh Hamd Randi. All of the Naqshbandi are also disciple of Hazrat Imam Rabbani Mijaz Rafsani Shaykh Hamd Randi, and all of the Upandi are also the disciple of Hazrat Imam Rabbani Mijaz Rafsani Shaykh Hamd Randi. His date of death is 1034. AH 1034 AH. Hazrat Imam Rabbani says that no one was promoted without the intervention of Hazrat Ali radiallahu anhu. And after his death, the same rank was transferred and delegated to Hazrat Imam Hassan. Imam Hassan was distributing the piety among the Ummah. And after the death of Hazrat Imam Hassan, the same rank was delegated to Hazrat Imam Hussain radiallahu ta'ala anhu. He was in position to distribute the piety among the Ummah. And after his death, Imam Zainul Abidin was promoted on this very rank, and this rank was delegated to him. And after his death, the same rank was transferred to Hazrat Imam Muhammad Baqir. And after his death, the same rank was transferred to Hazrat Imam Jafar Sadiq. And after his death, the same orders were delegated to Hazrat Imam Jafar Sadiq. And after Imam Jafar Sadiq, the same rank was transferred to Hazrat Musa Kazim. And after his death, the same rank was transferred to Hazrat Sayyid Ali Raza. And after his death, the same rank was transferred to Imam Taqi. And after that, to Imam Naqi. And afterward, to Hazrat Imam Hassan Askari. And Imam Hassan Askari was the last person to distribute the piety among Awliya Allah in Ummah of Muhammadiyah. And after that, up to the birth of Hazrat Syed Ghous-e-Azam radiallahu anhu, the piety was distributed by Hazrat Imam Hassan Askari, Aimma Ahl Bayt. So these was Aimma of total Ummah. Any person who says La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah, he will have to believe in them as Imam Huda. They are Imamul Aimatul Huda. They are leader of the guidance, proper guidance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And after that, Hazrat Ghous-e-Azam was promoted to the distribution of piety among Ummat Muhammadiyah. Now I have passed and crossed the limit. Now 1 hour and 5 minutes have passed. Inshallah, the rest part of Hazrat Ghous-e-Azam would be given to you, inshallah, in the next meeting. But I would like to complete the subject so that you will be able to keep this record in your libraries, and you will be able to study it at the time of your necessity. Life is not a reliable thing. The word is mortal. Mortality of word is a universal truth. All of the people who were alive with us, they have passed, and we are also going to pass away. So therefore these memories should be recorded by you, and it should be utilized at the time of necessity. وَمَا عَلَيْنَا إِلَّا الْبَلَاغُ الْمُبِينُ وَآخِرُ دَعْوَانَا أَنِ الْحَمْدُ لِلَّهِ رَبِّ الْعَالَمِينَ الصَّلَاةُ وَالسَّلَامُ عَلَى رَسُولِ الْكَرِيمِ.